All right, guys, just back from the post office, picked up this nice master lock. Looks like it says 931. I think it's probably a 5931 or 6931. Along with a little note here from William, the original owner. I guess you can see William is more than just a little bit upset with this lock, and it continues on the back. He goes so far as to say, just keep it or destroy it. I mean, he's desperate to get this little guy out of his lock lab. And William, I don't want you to be discouraged. These are not easy locks. This is a Master Pro Series lock, and these really are cool locks. Very difficult to pick, and let's talk about it a little bit. We have a really heavy steel body, and this is a pretty hefty lock, covered up with heavy plastic, and you can see this thing has been probably in William's house. He's probably through this more than a couple times. Never broke that shackle. Really tough material, and this looks like plastic, but this is actually steel, a steel shackle shroud, so when this is on a shackle and my finger simulates the shackle, you can see it'd be really hard to get a pair of bolt cutters between that steel guard and the shackle. So they did a good job of the physical security. They also did a good job on these cores, and that's because Master Lock owns the American lock company, and American has some great security pins, and they put them inside of these Pro Series. So inside of here, we could have spool pins, we could have serrated spools, we could have serrated, or mix of all of those, and that's usually what you find. Master only cut one corner that I know of on these locks, and that is, it's a 6-pin core, and usually, let me grab a pick here, usually they only pin up 5 of the 6. I only count 5, so I don't know why they do that. I mean, it really couldn't save that much money, but it's still going to be a pretty difficult pick. A couple things about it. These have really small pins, about half the diameter of the pins we're used to on, quick sets and Schlags. So it's really difficult to position your pick. You got to be very careful about that. The other thing, notice as I'm moving around, let me zoom in a little bit here. Make sure that's focused. I think it is. Notice how floppy that core is. I'm not really sure that's focused. Well, floppy. So you have to be careful. You're trying to find a security pin and the core is flopping around on you. You've got to be sure that you're getting feedback from the pin and not just that floppy core. The other thing, it's buried down inside of here, probably, well, not quite a ½ inch, a little over a ¼ inch. So it's down to about right here. And so that means when you use a tensioner, let's grab one here. We got 2 ends on here. We can't use that little short end, which gives us pretty good control. Instead, we've got to use the longer end to get past that shielding and all that stuff to get inside of. That's not the right one. Let's try the next one. That was 1.2 millimeter. This is the SP13. He's 1 millimeter, and he fits. But notice he's a little bit floppy, and that's just the way things go. All right. He's the biggest one I have that will fit. All right, so let's talk about this guy just a little bit. We do know it's probably going to be full of security pins. We know our tension wrench is precariously balanced, so we got to really be careful. When we're picking pins and we hit a spool pin, we're going to get a false set. In other words, that tensioner is going to flop over a little bit. So you kind of have to anticipate that just a little bit so you don't drop your tensioner. Now that I've said that, we're probably not going to find any in this lock. All right, the first pin that you look for, you can apply heavy tension on the tensioner. Again, make sure he's in there. There we go, that's good. All right, heavy tension, find the first binder. And what I do is feel along until I find everybody springy, until I hit, feels like pin 4. Once I find the binder, I lighten up on my tension and give him, if it's a serrated, a single pick. If it's a spool, that will fall over. I don't expect to find a spool on the first pin though. All right, I got one click. Now I'm going to lighten up on my tension and start looking around for another binder. And I'm not finding them. So the only one still binding is still 4. I'm going to go back and give them a second click. Now I'll look for another binder. And feels like pin 2 is binding. Minor click. Oh, I just touched 3. I got to click off of him. So I'm on the right path. Okay, that was pin 5, and notice how the core turned a little bit. That tells me we probably fell into a spool, and we're in what's called a false set. I'm trying to enunciate. It's like a fake set. A spool pin is shaped like a handheld barbell. It's got a fat end, a narrow waist, and another fat end. When we shove the fat end through the shear line and the core turns and pinches on that narrow waist, that's called the false set. Now, in order to completely pick that spool, because right now he's blocking the shear line, I'm going to have to shove the second fat end of that barbell through the shear line. And when we apply heavy tension on both the tensioner and our pick, what you'll see is when we find the spool, we'll get what's called counter rotation. And it's got to be in here somewhere. Where are you? Not there. There he is, right on pin 1, hiding behind my tensioner. When I push up on the pick and he tries to force the second half of that barbell through the shear line, it has to widen up, which is going to push back on our tensioner. And there you go, counter rotation. Relax your tension and allow the second half of the spool to go through the shear line. Now, other pins may fall. Don't worry about it. You got to get this thing picked. And there we go. And be real careful. Anticipate. Don't drop your tensioner like I almost did. We're still stuck in a false set. So that tells me we have another spool somewhere. Also, I'm starting to drop my tensioner. It's starting to come out. So I'm going to take my pick, slide him into the keyway, and turn like a key to hold it. Reposition my tensioner until he's nice and firm, and then I can continue without losing anything I've dropped, without dropping anything I've already picked. Looking for counter rotation. It might take some pretty extraordinary pressure. There it is, pin 3, counter rotation. Don't worry about dropping anything at this point. It may happen, but you got to get 3 picked. And there we go. There's 3. And now we've lost our counter rotation. So we're probably caught either on the head of 3 or another pin has dropped into the shear line. So let's see if we can find them. Light tension. And there we go. It was pin 1 had dropped down to the shear line, and we're back. My tensioner is again falling out because I have to maintain that really light tension. I'm going to take my pick, twist it, reposition my tensioner, hopefully, without dropping anything. Don't you love small recessed keyways, eh? All right. Oh, look at it. Check it out. Very strong spring load on this core. So it's really difficult to determine when you have an open. So every once in a while, just give it a good flex. And in this case, I gave it a flex as soon as I got repositioned, and he's open. Now I'm going to take my pick and put him in there and turn both of these at the same time. Just in case my tension wrench falls out, my pick will be holding it. This thing like that. Arg! He's still open. Thank goodness. Come out. There we go. All right, these are not easy locks, as you see. I struggled with this. I mean, I know I was in instructor mode, but I still struggled with a couple of things. And it's getting those spools through the shear line. There's at least 2 of them, and getting that, overcoming that spring tension. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy open. It is, looks like an Allen screw, if I can find the right size here. I think that's the right size. Let's take a look at the core, guys. We're way up here. We're at 9 minutes, but when you want to see everything, sometimes it takes a little extra time. Okay, so we're out. Pull this guy out of here. Come out, come out. This thing's pretty gummed up. Okay, there's your core. I'm going to slide him out. I'm going to try not to drop everything else. I really don't want to have to rebuild everything. So we got our core. I need this guy. Normally these have, oh, there it is. I was going to say these have circlips. I didn't see it because it's covered up with goop here. So what we got to do is we are open. Let's make sure that's at 90 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and pull that little circlip off. Hopefully. without locking it, Bill. Come on. I think this might work. No, he's too big. Yes, I do have a lot of circlips removers, but so many different sizes. I think we got him started here. There we go. All right, I need a follower with a 90-degree tailpiece, and there we go. Should be pretty well lined up right there. See if we can make this work. Okay, there are the 5 pins and the one unpopulated pin. I don't know why Master Lock cut. They can't possibly save that much money. Standard. Okay, we had 2 pins inside of there, which is a problem. That tells me that they didn't have enough length in that shear line. So we had a standard pin and a spool shoved into the keyway there. Probably not the best design. Okay, 4 does not want to come out. 5 comes out. And there we go, 4. Yeah, that's kind of unusual to find the driver pin inside of the core. Just doesn't usually happen. So I don't know what we're going to find in chamber 3. Probably just a spring would be my guess. Okay, there's our spool. It is a standard spool. No serrations on them at all. Chamber 2, again, another spool. No serrations. Chamber 3, check this out. Another spool. Oh, that was chamber 4. There we go, because chamber 4 has nothing but a spring, and then we flip them around and look at chamber 5 from this side, hopefully. And there's our single serrated pin. He's only got to get the grease off of there. A couple of really light serrations. Not deep ones at all, but he definitely gave a couple of very distinct clicks. So there we go, our 5-pinner. Nothing left but springs. And we don't care about those guys, right? All right, there's all 5 springs. So there we go, guys. Nothing real special about this. I think the combination, you can see how gunky this was. A combination of gunkiness, small pins, recessed keyway, and the security pins. I think that's all we were dealing with here. So, William, I don't know what to tell you. These are not easy locks. Just pay attention. Expect that you're going to have some spools in there. You're going to get a series of fault sets just as I did, but eventually you'll work your way through it. Appreciate your time, guys. Stay safe. Stay legal.